Just a show of hands for anyone in the room who hung out with a felon today. Hey guys, probably want to get your hands up if you were hanging out with convicted felon Donald Trump. I don't think anyone on our side did. But that's why we're here.
Well articulated, hence Democratic Congressmember Eric Swalwell. This occurred shortly after the MAGA Republicans convened with Donald Trump at the Capitol Hill Club in Washington, D.C. During the meeting, Donald Trump expressed his admiration for Hannibal Lecter and mentioned that he believes Milwaukee, the location for the upcoming Republican National Convention, is a dreadful city. This was Donald Trump's statement. During this committee hearing initiated by the MAGA Republicans, the Democrats were on the offensive. The stated aim of this MAGA Republican-led hearing was to criticize the prosecutors who have been and are currently prosecuting Donald Trump for his numerous offenses. Democratic Congressmember Adam Schiff reminded the MAGA Republicans that Donald Trump is a convicted felon, emphatically declaring him guilty, guilty, guilty.
Jury in the Manhattan hush money payment trial. Guilty, 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 guilty. This was what the jury pronounced unanimously on every count. My Republican colleagues don't really contest Donald Trump's guilt. This is the fascinating thing. Their argument is essentially he should never have been prosecuted, or they falsely claim it was a political prosecution, or they falsely claim it should have been a misdemeanor, not a felony. But they don't contest, not really, that Donald Trump was making hush money payments to a porn star to hide their affair from voters. What they're really saying is they're more than comfortable nominating and electing as the President of the United States someone making hush money payments to a porn star. The party formerly of the moral majority is now, I suppose, hoping to fashion some kind of immoral majority to reinstate Donald Trump as president.
Returning to Democratic Congressmember Eric Swalwell, who once again presents an excellent argument.
I want to talk a little bit about judicial bias, because they've suggested that there's a bias that occurred in this case. Ambassador Eisen, in Donald Trump's other case, where he's alleged to have stolen national security secrets, who appointed the judge to the bench in the Southern Florida federal case?
Unlike the special counsel in the Hunter Biden prosecution, who is a Trump holdover, David Weiss, that was a last minute, referring back to our history, midnight appointment, you can call it, by Donald Trump of Judge Eileen Cannon.
Are you kidding me? Donald Trump is complaining about bias in his case, and he's on trial for stealing national security documents with a judge that he appointed? Well, that's interesting. I didn't hear any of you all talking about that. Well, let's talk about the Supreme Court, who's deciding whether he has absolute immunity and can send the Navy SEALs to kill any of his opponents, as he alleges in his arguments that he can do. One judge is flying an insurrection flag in solidarity with the insurrection on January 6th that tried to overturn Donald Trump's loss in the 2020 election. Another judge's wife was at the president's speech on January 6th, right before the insurrection occurred.
Next, MAGA Republican Congresswoman Spars claimed that all Americans would now have to fear prosecution for falsifying business records if they make hush money payments. I'm not inventing this. This is what the MAGA Republicans are asserting, that this will deter Americans who wish to conceal their hush money payments and falsify their business records. According to them, every American is now a potential target. This exemplifies MAGA Republican illogic.
Interestingly enough, when talking about intimidation, threatening, and disinformation. I would say, I'm not an attorney. I'm actually a CPA and been involved with finances for a very long time. And I think a lot of Americans should be intimidated and worried if they pay bill to attorney and put it legal expense and they can have 34 felony counts for that. That is true intimidation. That is what the law is, so that would make anyone very nervous.
Incidentally, this is the same person who was accused of throwing office furniture at her staff. Moving on with this MAGA Republican hearing. Then there was MAGA Republican Chip Roy, who evidently lacks legal knowledge. Just ask Norm Eisen, a well-known attorney. So you're saying NDAs are illegal? Is that what you're suggesting?
Are NDAs illegal?
When an NDA is used to facilitate an illegal campaign contribution over $127,000 in excess of the legal limits, yes, it is a means. It is an unlawful means.
We also saw numerous MAGA Republicans in other committee hearings, such as Tim Scott in this session and in the Senate, arguing that junk fees might actually be beneficial. He questioned why we are trying to address them, claiming that the portrayal of junk fees is unjust. As we mentioned on the Midas Touch account, find someone who loves you as much as Republicans love defending junk fees.
I like the marketing strategy from the Biden administration as it relates to junk fees, because frankly, if you say the word junk fees, you assume that those junk fees are just unnecessary. I'm not sure that the average business person and or the consumer would see the late fees, the overdraft fees, and non-sufficient fund fees as junk fees.
As I mentioned, Donald Trump was in Washington, D.C., where he met with MAGA Republicans at the Capitol Hill Club. Here, MAGA member Mike Johnson discusses that disastrous meeting. He mentioned that Donald Trump spoke very highly of everyone, saying nice things. That's a clear sign of being in a cult.
Former president gave his endorsement to this leadership team, and does he want you to continue to be the speaker after the November election?
He said very complimentary things about all of us. We had sustained applause. He said, I'm doing a very good job. I mean, we're grateful for that. Look, we have to have continuity in leadership. We have to have a plan, and it has to be very carefully executed.
Incidentally, MAGA Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene echoed this sentiment, mentioning that Donald Trump greeted her, saying, "Hi."
I really found his speech to be one of my favorite speeches. He came in, talked to the conference, was very honest. He was funny. He was joking around constantly with everyone. He was really sweet to me. He said to Speaker Johnson, he goes, okay, you got one more seat. You need to be tougher. He saw me. I was sitting back a little ways. He saw me in there and he was like, hello, Marjorie. He's always so sweet and recognizes me. And he said, are you being nice? He was joking. Are you being nice to Speaker Johnson? And I said, eh. And he said, okay, be nice to him. And I nodded my head. And then
following this, Donald Trump spoke with the MAGA Republican senators and they held a press conference. This occurred after Trump's address at the Capitol Hill Club, where he made statements like his admiration for Hannibal Lecter, calling him the late, great Hannibal Lecter, known for his dinner parties. Trump also remarked that Milwaukee is a terrible city and claimed that Nancy Pelosi's daughter suggested he could date Nancy Pelosi since they are of a similar age. He also called the DOJ dirty, no-good bastards and complained that Taylor Swift doesn't love him. He continued with other bizarre comments about the absence of the impeachers. Here's a clip of Donald Trump rambling with the MAGA Republican senators.
But we have to get elected. We have to take this beautiful place and we have to make it really something very special again. Right now it's not special. Right now it's being scorned and being used as an example of when they look at the crime on the streets, when they look at all of the problems that we have, they're using us as a bad example of democracy. And they're getting away with murder, and we're not going to let it happen. So I just want to thank you for coming, and I want to thank everybody here. You're all either elected or you're going to be elected again and reelected. And
additionally, the MAGA Republicans in this House committee struggle with some very basic tasks. For instance, the chair of the Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan, didn't even know how to handle an erratic motion by MAGA Republican Matt Gaetz.
The problem is, if we're going to bring these people in, let's go. I've made a motion to subpoena these people now, pursuant to the rules, and I want to vote on my motion, or I want someone to move to table it.
You made the motion to subpoena them for the 12th?
I moved under Committee Rule 4, Clause 2M of House Rule 11.
I moved to table.
The attendance.
I move to table the.
That's fine.
I
Let's take a
second
vote.
that.
It's not debatable.
Gentleman's made a motion. The motion to table is not debatable. Those in favor of
President Biden has just posted expressing his love for Milwaukee. The post shows him with the Milwaukee Bucks at the White House following their NBA championship win. President Biden is seen holding a Biden jersey with the Milwaukee Bucks, contrasting Donald Trump's remark that Milwaukee is a horrible city. Incidentally, MAGA Republicans leaked this information to the press. The Trump campaign is now in a state of panic after Trump's negative comments about Milwaukee. As Jake Sherman, a renowned Capitol Hill reporter, confirmed, Trump absolutely made those remarks. While some may hear what they want to hear, Jake Sherman suggests that they are simply lying. Now, Stephen Chung from the Trump campaign is vehemently denying the statement, using profanity, claiming it's total nonsense. The campaign insists Trump never said it, alleging his comments were about crime and voter fraud instead. Stephen Chung's response was filled with curses, a pattern now typical of the Trump campaign. We will continue to provide updates on developments from Capitol Hill. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.